Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. I'm Asha Best. Today I welcome you all in class 8th, 4th chapter of history, tribals, decus and the vision of a golden age. This is the second part of this chapter which we are going to discuss today. Before starting with the second part, let's have a quick revision of the first part. Dear students, in the first part, we discussed about the Birsa Munda, how he was famous, what people used to think about him. Then we also discussed about the problems that Birsa set out to resolve. We got information about how did tribal groups live that time, what kind of work they did. Like some of them were involved in jhum cultivation, they were jhum cultivators. Some were the hunter-gatherers. Some were involved in herding animals. So let's begin with the second part. Settled cultivation. Even before the 19th century, many from within the tribal groups had begun settling down and cultivating their fields in one place year after year, instead of moving from one place to another. Before this, we discussed that earlier these tribal community people were in a habit of moving from one place to another in search of different resources. But now they started living a settled life at one particular place. They began to use the plough and gradually got rights over the land they lived on. They used the traditional method of cultivation, and later on, after a certain period of time, they owned the lands on which they used to grow crops. In many cases, like the Mundas of Chota Nagpur, the land belonged to the clan as a whole. The whole land belonged to the clan. All members of the clan were regarded as descendants of the original settlers. They belonged to the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Therefore, all of them had rights on the land. Now they were sharing the rights on the land they were using for cultivation. Very often, people within the clan acquired more power than others. Some became chiefs and other followers. The person who had more power as per the land they acquired, they became the chiefs, and rest of the people, they were less powerful and they became the followers. Powerful men often rented out their land instead of cultivating it themselves. Means they gave their land on rent to other farmers so that they can cultivate different crops on that. British officials saw settled tribal groups like the Gonds and Santhals as more civilized than hunter-gatherers. Now, when they compared these tribal groups, they found that the tribal groups, those who are settled at one place, they are more civilized than the people, those who involve themselves in hunting and gathering or in shifting cultivators. Those who lived in the forest were considered to be wild and savage. They needed to be settled and civilized. This was the thought of Britishers that people or the tribal community people, those who are living in forest areas, they are not civilized and they don't live a settled life. So they need to be civilized and should start living a settled life. Effect of colonial rule. In this, the lives of tribal groups changed during British rule. In this slide, we'll understand that how the life changed during the British rule and what are the changes those took place during the British rule. The tribal life was disrupted in many ways by the colonial rule. There was a significant change experienced by the tribal people after they came into contact with the colonial rule and the outsiders whom they described as Dikos. Dikos, as earlier also in the previous video I explained that Dikos, this word was used for the outsider, like the Britishers, those who came from other country. What happened to tribal chiefs? Before the arrival of the British in many areas, the tribal chiefs were important people. Before the arrival of Britishers, these chiefs were considered very important and had to play a significant role amongst the tribal community. They enjoyed a certain amount of economic power and had the right to administer the control their territories. They were controlling the whole territory. In some places, they had their own police and decided on the local rules of land and forest management. Under British rule, the functions and powers of the tribal chiefs changed considerably. Now their importance started to change under British rule. They were allowed to keep their land titles over a cluster of villages and rent out lands, but they lost much of their administrative power and were forced to follow the law made by British officials in India. Like in the previous chapters, we discussed that how the British officials made the people to take loan from them, and later on they forced people to pay a certain amount of money regularly, in which the people failed to pay that amount of money, and for a return what they did, the Britishers conquered their lands. They took over their lands, and because of that the chiefs lose their power during that time. Effect on shifting cultivators. Now, what was the effect on shifting cultivations of the Britishers? The Britishers wanted the tribal groups to settle down to bring them under the ambit of revenue assessment. Therefore, the measurement of land took place. Some peasants were declared landowners and others as their tenants. The British were uncomfortable with groups who moved about and did not have a fixed home. Okay, they wanted people to settle at one place so that they can make them civilized. They wanted tribal groups to settle down and became peasants cultivators. Settled peasants were easier to control. As the settled peasants, they were living at one single place, so they were easily controlled and administered than people who were always on the move. If we compare both the people, those who were settled at one place, or the people those who were moving from one place to another, for the Britishers to control the people those who are living at one place was more easy than to control the people those who are on the move always. The British also wanted a regular revenue source for the state. So they introduced land settlements, that is, they measured the land, defined the rights of each individual to that land, and fixed the revenue demand for the state. Among us, these people, some were declared as the landowners, some of them were declared as the tenant. The British effort to settle Jhum cultivators was not very successful. They didn't get very much successful in that. Settled plough cultivation is not easy in areas where water is scarce and the soil is dry. Now for cultivators, it was a big problem where the water is not available, as well as if the soil is not of good quality, then they again faced problems in cultivating different crops. In fact, Jhum cultivators who took the plough cultivation often suffered, since their field did not produce good yield. So the Jhum cultivators in northeast India insisted on continuing their traditional practice. search for work. The tribals who went far away from their respective homes were the major sufferers. Plantation agriculture began in the late 19th century and they were employed in this industry. Their position became pathetic as they were not allowed to go home. These people were forced to settle at one place and therefore their condition day by day got bad. Impact of forest laws. Tribals were intimately connected with the forest. British regulations made them voluntarable as some forests were declared reserve forest and declared as the property of the state. As per this law, people were not allowed to use the forest products or to bring the maximum resources from these forests. The life of tribal groups, those who were connected with the forest, changed. How? The British extended their control over all forest and declared the forest the property of the state. Some of the forests amongst these classified as the reserve forest and the timber which was produced from these forests, British used them all. In these forests, people were not allowed to move freely as well as to collect the forest products. They were not allowed to practice jhum cultivation. They were not allowed to collect fruits and other articles from the forest, as well as they were prohibited to hunt animals. But once the British stopped the tribal people from living inside forest, they faced a problem. From where would the forest department get its labor? To cut trees for railway sleepers and to transport logs. It was a huge problem as they were not getting laborers to do such kind of activities. Colonial officials came up with a solution for that. They had a solution. They decided that they would give jhum cultivators small patches of land in the forest and allow them to cultivate these on the condition that those who lived in the village would have to provide labor to the forest. Now they placed a condition in front of them that they will allow them to practice farming, but in that they have to give them labor. They have to provide them laborers for different activities, to cut trees or for the other activities like transport logs and all. So in many regions, the forest department established forest villages to ensure a regular supply of cheap labor. Through this, they got a cheap labor supply from the village itself. Now the problems with trade. What were the problems with trade during the British rule? During the 19th century, dear students, tribal groups found that traders and moneylenders were coming into the forest more often. Now their involvement in forest was increasing day by day, wanting to buy forest produces, offering cash loans and asking them to work for wages. In the 18th century, Indian silk was in demand in Europe market. The fine quality of Indian silk was highly valued and export from India increased rapidly. As the market expanded, East India Company officials tried to encourage silk production to meet the growing demands. Moneylenders and traders frequently visited tribal areas as we discussed. Soon the tribal understood their interest and started maintaining distance from them. As the tribal got aware of that, the Britishers wanted to use all the resources which were available there. So they started making a distance from them. Important terms which we studied in this chapter: Dikos, it means outsiders or the foreigners. Jhum cultivation, in this type of cultivation, the cultivators clear off a patch of land, burn the vegetation and spread the ash from the firing which contains potash to fertilize the soil. Then they prepare the soil for cultivation. They scatter the seeds on the field. Once the crop is ready, they move to another land. Fallow, a field left uncultivated for a while so that the soil recovers fertility. Mahua, a flower that is eaten or used to make alcohol. Beware, it is a term used in Madhya Pradesh for shifting cultivation. Sleeper, the horizontal planks of wood on which railway lines are laid. Akhara, wrestling ground. Sirdars, leaders. Vaishnav, worshippers of Vishnu. Satyug, the age of truth. So this is all about this part of this chapter. Hope you liked it and understood it. I'll request you all to watch both the videos together for better understanding. Do watch this video, like and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day.